The planet of Tyria is filled with many different things that all come together to create the fantastic experience that we enjoy in Guild Wars 2. Across every map, we can find interesting canyons that not only look cool, but also provide various gameplay elements that change up one's adventures. And today, I want to specifically highlight my top 10 favorite canyons that we can find throughout the game, and go over why I particularly like them. So let's get started. In the number 10 spot is the Gallowfields. Located in the northwestern corner of Brisbane Wildlands, we have the region of the world where the Maguma jungle has been transitioning into the Maguma wastes. This is a super interesting spot aesthetically because of that transition, but I think it is truly showcased with a canyon carved into the earth here that just screams Maguma to me. All around the canyon are various bandit forts, and nearby is a Skrit Scratch. I love the tiny bridges of stone connecting different parts of the canyon to each other, with all the routes going down into the canyon proper. We see some different alcoves all across the canyon which are similar to other locations across Maguma, and throughout the canyon are a bunch of hyenas, and hyenas hanging out in canyons is just super nostalgic for me. But this canyon in particular is pretty well known amongst the Guild Wars 2 community because of the amount of ore veins all around here. You have a steady rich iron vein that players frequent, plus a bunch of other small veins that you can find if you travel through the canyon, making this place a good area to get iron ore, while also completing mining dailies wherever they pop up. And the number 9 spot is Lifeblood Ravine. In the northern part of the Desert Highlands, you can find the Lifeblood Falls, which are incredible waterfalls just pouring down into this canyon, forming a river that runs through the entirety of the canyon. This combination together just looks so incredibly cool, and I love how the canyon is dug super far down into the earth, with both natural and ogre-made bridges crossing it. Down in the canyon itself are a bunch of drakes hanging out in the water with the occasional plant here and there, but there's also a full-blown road that follows the river with a little barrier between the two, the occasional pillar, and some torches. And at the very northern end is an individual by the name of Tigme, who tells passerby that this road leads to the tunnel that takes you to Ebonhawk, but warns you that you can't pass through it because the Branded have caused the tunnel to collapse in on itself. First of all, this is just fantastic attention to detail, because we have had the desert gate that leads towards the Crystal Desert in the Fields of Ruin, which players have speculated about for a long time, and it is nice to see that passage referenced here. But second of all, it is fun to think about how this place may connect to a map in the future, and we may one day be able to walk from the Fields of Ruin to the Desert Highlands. In the number 8 spot are the Desolation Canyons. This is just a super general answer for pretty much the entire map of the Desolation. This is a map filled to the brim with a ton of canyons everywhere, and these are super iconic canyons as well because they are filled up with the dangerous sulfurous sands which require you to ride on a skimmer in order to safely navigate. And navigating through them can definitely be a little worse than just running through the map on land, but it can definitely be worthwhile at times to get to certain areas. Plus you have the Janundi Rising meta event that has you going into the canyons, which is fun, and the Malls of Tormod meta event also takes you through an area that resembles canyons as well, at the Ruptured Heart. In the number 7 spot are the Switchback Canyons. This is an area in the central part of Firehard Rise alongside the Sweltering Canyons just north of it. There are a few map completion objectives around here, but the biggest thing is the task that takes place here, because while the canyon looks super cool with all the rocks, trees and whatnot, the coolest part about this canyon is how it is basically a war zone. Throughout the canyon are a ton of Flame Legion soldiers that you need to fight against for the task. There are a bunch of traps set up everywhere that you have to avoid and disable. You have a small Ash Legion camp set up within the canyon that serves as a safe haven for you as you navigate through here, and ultimately it's just a really cool area with incredible vibes. In the number 6 spot is the Jarin Canyon. This canyon isn't specifically named, but it goes through the domain of Istan past the plains of Jarin. This area basically splits the eastern bulk of the map from the western bit, with a river that goes through here and a few bridges connecting the two halves. Up in the northern and southern bit, you have two pretty massive stretches where the canyon is super wide as it opens up towards the oceans, but in between the two, the canyon narrows and are pretty close together. Some players may recognize this area because you come through here while doing the skimmer race in the map, but beyond that, there isn't really anything too important here except how it divides and breaks up the map into opposite sections. Plus, it's just a really pretty looking canyon that is fun to explore through. In the number 5 spot is the Valley of Agony, a much more recent example of a canyon as we look at a new location found in the Mist-Burned Barrens. This is a massive canyon that stretches all the way from the Alliance staging ground through Seer's March and to Yagon's Gift. This area is the site of one of the final battles between the Seers and the Mersat, where the Seers are basically just annihilated here, and you can find many of their ghosts roaming the canyons, which is kind of cool. But you also see this area is completely filled up with spectral agony, as it was unleashed upon the Seers and still radiates here to this day, which is also kind of cool. And the spectral agony plays a part in the gameplay of the map, where it will kill you should you enter the canyon before it is cleared by completing the meta event here. And the meta event here is super fun, and I have loved playing through it. Bouncing all around the canyon is super fun gameplay wise, for me at least, and I genuinely love coming through here just to play through this event, and it leads to 3 different final fights by Yagon's Gift, all of which are decently interesting and have you come into the end of the canyon, where the entire canyon as a whole is just really cool looking, but I also love all the other stuff around here, like this massive Mersat bridge going across the canyon. In the number 4 spot is Breakneck Pass. This might be one of the most well-known canyons in the entire game. It can be found in the Wayfarer foothills, and it is the primary exit out of the Norn starting area in the Borealis forest towards the rest of the Wayfarer foothills. It is a very tall pass that just looks incredible. It occasionally gets blocked by the Sons of Svanir, and you have to clear them out of the way, and it is a pretty important pass as it allows travelers to reach Holbrack. But it's just a super beautiful looking canyon, and I love the transition out of the forest and into the foothills. It always feels incredible to travel through it, but I also love traveling atop the cliffside above the bottom of the canyon. You can get an incredible sight of Wayfarer foothills while also looking down into the canyon. Plus, as you pass through here, you get to see bunnies, which is fun. In the number 3 spot is Verdant Brink. Another somewhat general answer, but I do have a specific location picked out. Verdant Brink as a whole is just filled to the brim with canyons. There are so many of them everywhere, and during the Heart of Thorns expansion you have to navigate around them using your brand new masteries. And there are a ton of gameplay elements across different parts of many of the different canyons, but with the introduction of the Griffin and the Path of Fire expansion, a whole new element of gameplay was retroactively introduced to this map, as you can soar through these canyons on the Griffin, which is just a phenomenal experience. And Verdant Brink is one of my go-to locations for messing around on my Griffin. But one particular part of this massive canyon system I've always loved is the area around the Bugs in the Branches adventure. This is a super fun adventure that has you navigating all around this area to pick up some bugs. It's basically like an open air obstacle course where you have to plan out the best route to pick up the bugs as fast as possible. But the canyon that this adventure takes place in is just absolutely beautiful, with this waterfall, all of the trees, and just everything else around here. It's a gorgeous area. In the number 2 spot is Lowland Shore. Yet another generic answer for us to talk about, but definitely a massive one. Lowland Shore is one of the newest maps added with the Jathier Wilds expansion and has skyrocketed to becoming one of my favorite maps in the entire game. And a prominent theme in this map is how it is situated on a massive delta that we had been wondering about for years and can now finally explore, where there are massive rivers cutting through the entire map in a variety of different directions that have formed this massive series of canyons that we get to explore through. And there is really just a lot of stuff we can look at here, but largely this entire map, all of the rivers, and all the canyons are absolutely incredible looking. You got a ton of waterfalls everywhere pouring down into even deeper canyons. When it comes to the verticality of this map, it is pretty tall, and that allows these canyons to be very massive. There are so many scenic shots that can be taken, and I can just keep rambling on and saying random things, which extends the duration of this video, allowing me to throw in some more footage for people to enjoy. Hey, did you know that you should subscribe if you haven't already? But now for the number 1 spot, for my favorite canyon in all Guild Wars 2, and this is a very standout answer for me, as it is the Temple of Kormir Canyon. Another unnamed canyon, but it is a massive stretch of land that goes past the Temple of Kormir. It basically starts away in the eastern part of the map and heads westwards towards the small body of water just north of the Northern Way Station. And I mean, look at it. I find this canyon to be one of the best pieces of art in all of Guild Wars 2. Whichever artists and map builders created this canyon specifically did an absolutely phenomenal job. I just love all the details put into the rock structures here alongside the canyon floor. There are a few different bridges all around here, including the major one that leads directly into the Temple of Kormir, where you also got the village here with the roads around it that go along the canyon and look incredible. I also love this bridge that you cross to get over towards this area, and also this broken bridge. I remember playing the Path of Fire beta and thinking about how you can't cross this broken bridge until you upgrade your Raptor. Once Path of Fire fully released, and I did upgrade my Raptor, I came back to this area and jumped over the gap, and just felt super rewarded. There's also a pretty big bounty fight that takes place down here underneath the Temple of Kormir, which adds a little extra flavor to the canyon, and it is just filled to the brim with a bunch of dangerous hydras, which I find to be some of the most difficult mobs to fight in Guild Wars 2. But overall, this canyon is just incredible, absolutely beautiful, and is my favorite canyon in all of Guild Wars 2. And that's my list. I hope you enjoyed. Guild Wars 2 has a ton of canyons found throughout the game, many more than I could talk about here. I would love to hear if anyone has any canyons in particular that they happen to enjoy or find especially beautiful. If you haven't subscribed already, please feel free to do so, as I am closing in on 4,000 subscribers. I hope you all are taking good care of yourselves. Have a good one, everyone.